I will also be, and I will also be going live on the Safe Thursday promotion YouTube channel as well. So if you have some issues logging in on the on the Zoom, you would still be able to watch it live on our YouTube channel. Yeah. So the YouTube channel details would be posted on the chat window in a short while. But these are the avenues from where you could be watching the webinar, Safe Thursday webinar. So having said that, thank you all for taking the time out to join the Safe Thursday webinar. I would like to start out by a quick introduction about what Safe Thursday is all about. And before I even talk about Safe Thursday, I would kind of like to take you into the history of how things happened. Right? So a quick history about Safe Thursday, right? So before even I talk about Safe Thursday, I would like to quickly talk about who I am and what we represent. So sometime in 2017, a group of SAFE program consultants and professional Scrum trainers, right? Me and few of my friends, in fact, we got together. We were all working as independent consultants, trying to help organizations in their transformation. So Scrum and SAFE were the primary frameworks of choice. So we were helping them move from where they are to an agile way of working. And since we had a lot of things in common, we got together and created a platform for ourselves called as Agilemania, right? So this is just a platform. We still do not consider Agilemania as a company. It's mostly a platform for right now 6 like-minded people who's in the industry helping organizations to do agility, right? So as part of our work, we also created a user group called as Agile 30. We named it Agile 30 because we used to mentor 30 people in a year in whatever was the area that they would like to excel in, possibly as a Scrum Master, Agile coach, or if they were interested in understanding safe and becoming safe program consultants and stuff. So we used to support them in their agile journey. So this is how we created a small group, a small user group, which over a period of time grew. And right now we are about 17,000 plus members across the world. Right, so that's what Agile 30. Now we run Agile 30 based on the geographic location that we are in, primarily focused on South Asia and the Southeast Asian countries, and this is where we are. So this is how it started off. We were going on, and then come 2019, the kind of businesses that we were supporting with, we really started feeling the need to focus on business agility, right? So while we were kind of working on SCAFE as a platform, the need for business agility, because that's where most of the organizations that we were supporting was moving into, this kind of created, and then our focus kind of started moving more and more onto the scaled agile framework, primarily because SAFE, as we know, is the only framework that really supports business agility, right? So our focus also started moving towards SAFE in 2019. So we started working with multiple organizations, supporting them in their transformation at scale. And this is at the same time that we said now Agile 30 was kind of opened up. We were having a lot of wide range of discussions that we were having. But at the same time, we really wanted a space, a safe space where we could focus purely on the discussions around SAFE. And that's when we started off another user group called as Safe Thursday back in May 2020. And Scaled Agile Framework has been supporting us from then. In fact, the first webinar that we did was done by Pranjal Swarup, who was heading the ASEAN market for SAFE at that point in time, right? So that's where May 2020 is when we started off Safe Thursday. So we grew from about 12 people coming together saying, okay, let's start something off with a very specific focus on the scaled agile framework. And intent was to create a safe environment for discussing safe topics. Anything and everything about safe is what we discuss in Safe Thursday, right? And today, I'm really proud to say, we have done about 24 events, in the last about 15 months or so. We have done about 24 events, all discussions around safe. The format so far that we have been using is webinars, workshops, and experience sharing sessions. We have about 931 members from across the world, and we are still growing. And today we have reached a state wherein, I'm going to use this particular opportunity to say that we are moving away from just a meetup group to having our own website, safethursday.com. Right. So this is where we are. We are definitely growing and growing fast. Right. So I would just love to introduce the concept of Safe Thursdays, and I would request you to go explore our website, safethursday.com. Pour in your feedbacks, given your ideas, your suggestions on how you think we can take this community forward. Yeah. So, and the plans, we have already come up with plans for Safe Thursday 2022 as well, right? So we will be running 2 events every month on the 2nd and the 4th Thursdays. And I think this is the first time that we are actually having a Safe Thursday on a Friday, right? But why not, right? In the end, we are talking about safe. We have people, we have a safe fellow who's going to take us through the conversations. So I think Wednesday is a good Thursday as well. Yeah. Format planned, we're going to have expert talks, workshops, and we're also going to thinking about introducing the concept of lean coffee discussions as part of the Safe Thursday. Yeah. But we are also making use of the safethursday.com as a platform for blogging for all Safe Thursday members. So this is going to be a platform where we're going to give an opportunity for everybody who have been thinking about learning, sharing their learnings and all that stuff. If you would like to blog, we are coming up with a blogging platform in there. If you would like to participate and do your own experience sharing or talk about a particular topic, Safe Thursday is a platform that I'm requesting all of you to explore and see if it is aligned with what you would like to do in here, right? And we are also trying to grow. Since we are growing, we need more contributors, and we are also looking for community leaders, right? It's getting big. We're getting a lot of requests on all different topics. So we are definitely looking forward for community leaders who can help us to grow Safe Thursday further and also help us take the discussions even further. Yeah. So if you're really interested in it, Safe Thursday website, you can definitely show us your interest in terms of coming back and contributing to as community leaders, or if you would like to contribute to Safe Thursday events, please do get in touch with us. Yeah. So the website is again safethursday.com. Right? So now that I'm done with my marketing pitch for Safe Thursday, right, I would like to go ahead and then get into the things that all of us have been eagerly waiting for, right, which is talking about Safe Thursday, right? So this is the time where I would like to introduce Inbar Oren, a methodologist and a safe fellow with Scaled Agile Framework, right? And Inbar is one person I'm pretty sure needs no introduction at all, but just for the sake of the formality, right? Inbar comes with more than 20 years of experience, right? His experience has been in the high-tech market, working in both small, large enterprises, as well as a range of roles, right? He's been in the development, architecture, he's been in the executive positions, right? You name it, I think Inbar has done it, right? So, a wide range of experiences. And for over a decade now, Inbar has been helping development organizations, both in software and the integrated systems, right? To improve results, by adapting lean, agile, and the best practices, right? Inbar has worked with the big marquee clients like Cisco, Woolworths, Amdocs, Intel, NCR, and all the companies, right? So he has been an active contributor in many of the organizations, success in doing work in the Agile way, right? Now, Inbar works as a principal contributor to SAFE, as I was saying, a Scaled Agile fellow and a strategic consultant, right? Inbar's current focus is primarily working with leaders at the program, value stream, and the portfolio level. And he kind of works with them to help them bring the most out of their organizations in building new processes and culture, right? Another important aspect, not really related to safe, but Inbar is also a martial art expert, right? He holds a black belt in several arts, right? So he can land not only a great value stream, he can land a great punch as well, right? Um, and I think as Inbar also says, he also thinks and lives the idea of scale, right? It's not only in the work but also in his life, right? Inbar is raising 5 kids, which includes 2 set of twins, right? And he's supported by his beautiful wife Renan. Yeah. So this is the quick introduction about Inbar, the things that I know about him so far. But then I'm sure there's a lot more interesting stuff coming up as part of the webinar right now. Yeah. With that, Inbar, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know it's pretty late in US right now, and you're spending the time after having run a session. Thank you so much for this, and Inbar, over to you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be part of Safe Thursday, even if it's on a Friday. Just to make it easy for everybody, it is still Thursday here. So officially, this is Safe Thursday on a Thursday. It is Thursday where I'm at. So nobody needs to stress out about that. So let me share my screen, and we'll get started. I can't share my screen. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Nope, I can do it now. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. And I've been asked to talk a little bit about DevOps, and I think DevOps is something that I'm really passionate about. I help author our Safe DevOps class. But for me, it's kind of a wider thing. So I asked, can I connect somehow DevOps to value streams? And I was told, sure, you can talk about it. And I want to share kind of 10 things I learned about DevOps and value streams, the work that I've done with multiple customers. And I'll try to do it so that you'll have enough time for questions, and feel free to ask me any questions about what we're talking about today or anything else that you want. I've been part of the Safe family for a long time, and I'm happy to answer any kind of question that you might have around Safe. So before I start with the 10 things I've learned, I just want to could I quickly introduce myself, because Preet did such a great job. I've started my career as a developer. I've been a team leader. I've been a project manager, product manager. So I've walked kind of the gamut of the technology world. And right now I'm a methodologist and Safe fellow. And when I became a methodologist, my good friend Drew, who was one of the co-founders of Safe, asked other people if they know what the difference is between a methodologist and a terrorist. And he said the difference is that you can negotiate with terrorists, but not a methodologist. So hopefully I'm going to show you that you can talk to methodologists, and it's not, we're not that extreme. As Preet said, I do martial arts. I don't know how much of a punch I land, because I usually use sticks and swords. So if I don't have anything in my hand, you're probably safe. If I do have a weapon in my hand, yeah, that's probably dangerous. But if most people with weapons are dangerous. And as Preet said, I have to do family at scale. I have 5 kids, 2 sets of twins. This is out in New York right before COVID happened, and we couldn't go anywhere. So at least we had fun back then, as you can see, mostly in the Lego store. So this is a serious topic. Since 2000, 52% of the names on the Fortune 500 lists are gone. This is not a joke. People can't find how to fit themselves into the new world that we're talking about right now, the new world of that requires business agility, won't be here. If you're part of a company that's not taking business agility, that's not taking agility, that's not taking this movement seriously enough, you probably won't be here in I don't know, a few years when we'll do Safe Thursday again and talk about this. This is a serious problem, and I think it should be taken as a serious effort. That means that as we're talking about DevOps, we need to understand that it requires us to be serious about it. But I think when we talk about DevOps and safe, and that's, I think, one of the first things I learned when I started working towards building our DevOps class, was that DevOps goes way beyond just development and operations. Yes, development and operations is an important part of it. That's where DevOps started. It started with people asking themselves, we have the devs, and the devs are like, how do we get things out fast? We're building things, they're cool, we want to get it out to customers. And operation, we're like, oh, no, let's hold back. It's stability, we need to make sure this is holding back. And each side kind of not realizing what the others are doing. So the DevOps movement brought devs and ops together to communicate more often, to understand each other better, and kind of build a shared understanding of what we're building. And that's all great. I mean, if dev and ops can collaborate together to build a software and release it, that sounds great. But the world's a lot bigger than just dev and ops. Let's say we're building something really fast, and we can even deploy it really fast, but compliance is not part of the board. And so as we're getting ready to deploy something, compliance is saying, no, sorry, you haven't passed your compliance audits. That's going to be scheduled for 3 months from now, and it's going to take the 3 months to complete. All the work we put into building a continuous delivery pipeline, all the work we put into automation, suddenly not that great. What about business people? They're also part of this world. Again, it's not just ops, it's not just devs. What about security? So we need to, as we're thinking about DevOps in at scale in the largest enterprise in the world, we have to think that the concept that DevOps brought was kind of this great idea of, if you want to deliver, dev is not enough. You have to think broader than that. Ops is not enough. You have to think broader than that. But we have to take it further than just dev and ops. We have to include others. And the people I put here is just examples: compliance, operations, development, security, business, architecture. There could be a lot more people. Depending on what you're building, this could be procurement, this could be hardware, this could be quality assurance. This could be so many people that are required to actually get value in the hands of users. And problem actually start earlier than devs. Let's assume for a second that we have an amazing, let's say the problem is only dev and ops. And let's say we have an amazing continuous delivery pipeline. We can deploy everything to customers really quickly. Now, it's a little hard for me to look at the chat, but I'll try to look at it at the same time. What percentage of features in software do you think actually get used? What do you guys think? About 30, 20, 10. Oh, it's going down rapidly. 40, 20, maybe 35. Not even 50, 10, 25. Okay, so let's assume that because you guys represent like really big corporations, it's as high as 50. I haven't seen anybody put a number higher than 50, so I'm going to be nice and say 50, just to be nice here. That means that most of what we're building, even if it's 49, it means that most of what we're building is the wrong thing. So now we're building a way to deliver the wrong things faster. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like we're making the right progress. So the fact that we've built a really cool continuous delivery pipeline, while not considering the people who are actually building the requirements, means we're building the wrong thing faster. So as we're thinking about DevOps in a scale, we need to consider something broader than that. We have to consider what we're calling in SAFe the business agility value stream. It starts when an opportunity emerges. A business opportunity emerges. And again, this could be because a new technology arrives, or a competitor did something, or we've identified customer needs, or it could be something even as not as fun as COVID happening. You could treat a lot of those things as opportunities. So the question now becomes, what does it take to actually leverage an opportunity? Well, if we want to leverage opportunities in an agile environment, especially at scale, we need to be able to recognize the opportunity quickly, fund it, instead of now saying, oh, you can't fund it, it's going to take a long time. There's this really bigger problem in the market. Sorry, there's this bigger problem in the market. And it's going to take us a year to actually get funding to do anything about that. No, so we need to be able to fund something. We need to be able to get the people who are needed to deliver this. We need to understand exactly what our customers need so that we're not actually building the wrong things. We need to deliver small things quickly, then make a decision. Are we even running in the right direction? If we are, we should continue to deliver value continuously, and then we have to learn and adapt. Now, how long does it take us? Not from code commit to deploy to production, but from sensing a business opportunity to leveraging a business opportunity. This transcends what we traditionally think of as DevOps. But if we want to actually achieve business agility, if we want to think bigger, if we want to get to the results that we need as a company, if we want to not disappear as part of the rest of the Fortune 500 companies, then we need to really build this kind of business agility value stream. And the value stream thinking for me is so crucial, because value stream represents the set of steps it takes to actually go from I have an opportunity to I'm going to leverage this. So if we're extending DevOps beyond DevOps to kind of this bigger business agility value stream, what does that mean? What do we do with, let's say we agree we need this kind of business agility value stream. Okay, what do we do with value streams? How do we think about them at scale? How do we think about them as we want to leverage some of the great ideas that we have in DevOps to them? Well, the first thing we have to do is kind of identify what the value streams are. In most organizations I've worked with, don't really think in value streams. They have no idea, and there's nobody who's thinking about how value flows. They might know kind of how we're operating the business. This is an example of a loan application. We're attracting customers. There's a quick rate where the customer completes the loan application. We check for eligibility. We give the loan. They set up payments. They pay us. And at the end, we close the loan. Okay, we kind of understand that. But then if we're looking at what does it take to actually build the solutions required to support this operational value stream, there's so many solutions. There might be a challenge system and a loan origination system and a credit scoring system and a core banking system. And each one of them requires hundreds of people. And the way most organizations are thinking is they're thinking in silos. They're not saying, nobody actually is looking at this overall thing and saying, oh, in order to deliver this channels, the loan origination or credit scoring system, we need operations people, we need developers, we need legal people, we need marketing people, we need support. There's a huge gamut of people that actually take into creating a new loan product. I have an idea for a great new loan product. Can I do it without legal? No. Would anybody know about it without marketing? No. Can I actually support it in my operational value stream without getting people in support to help create the how are we going to support it in the field? What's the how are we going to handle tickets? And most organizations aren't thinking that way. They have no concept of the overall value stream. So we have to start by asking ourselves, what are our value streams? And in SAFe, in the beginning of the value stream of the implementation roadmap, we have this thing called the identifying value stream and arts. And the reason we put it there is because if you want to deliver something quickly, the first step is identifying what the value stream is. Otherwise, we cannot do anything. We cannot progress fast. We cannot get to a point where we're moving quickly if we don't even know what the value streams are that we're trying to support. So let's say we've done that. Let's say we've sat together and we said, okay, what are the operational value streams we're trying to support? What are the solutions we're building? Who does it take to actually deliver them, not just across IT, but across development and operations and legal and marketing and anybody we need in order to make this a reality. Let's say we spend the time and really thought through this and identified the value stream. That's great. But the next problem that most organizations are facing is that they're not built to deliver this value to customers. They're not built to make this a reality. So we need to make sure that we can also organize our organization around the delivery of value. So as we've identified the value stream, we might know that we need people from legal, or people from compliance, or people from hardware, or people from software, or quality, or testing, or security. Once we've identified the people we need to bring them together into a group that can actually work together, into an agile release train, or a solution train, or if it's small enough, a team. But we need to make sure that everybody's required to actually deliver the solution to our customers. Everybody required to build that new solution or amend existing solutions is working together. Otherwise, even if we had identified the value streams, we're going to face two problems, or more than two problems. One, those people don't work together. Two, they don't have work that's prioritized in the same manner. Each group is going to have their work prioritized separately. That means that my high priority is Preet's lowest priority. So we're not working together because I'm going to always struggle to actually get Preet to work with me and deliver together on our common, on our non-common goal. So we're working on things that are not the same. There's a lot of politics that's probably going in there where I'm actually trying to optimize my specific department. I don't really think about the overall value stream because nobody's looking at it. Now, if you're starting to think about it from a safe perspective, and we've actually identified a value stream, and let's say, just for sake of argument, that it's about 80, 100 people, and we've organized them into an art. Now we have someone that can actually prioritize the work across that value stream for the delivery of that solution. We have product management, and we have a release train engineer that can actually help us improve the flow continuously through this value stream. So now we're starting to extend DevOps beyond that. We're understanding that we need this. We're understanding that we need to bring more people. We've identified what is the right flow of value that we can actually use for this. We've brought everybody together. Now we can take the next step, which is the next thing I learned around doing this. Organizing around value, identifying the value stream, still not enough. The next step you need to do is really understand the flow of value through this. You need to map the existing value stream. So the first thing you have to do is try to map the existing value streams. Try to understand, what are we doing right now? Well, it's a mobile banking application. Well, what does that mean? Well, it starts with somebody making a feature request and it ends with releasing an app update. Great. How often did that happen? Well, 10 features a month. And then we're trying to understand what are the different steps it actually takes to deliver on those on those development value streams. And a few years ago, I was working with an insurance company here in the US. And we were doing this exercise. We were doing a current state mapping with them. And we're going around and they're starting to map. And they had a really good process. So the process you see in front of you, you see things here take days, waiting for days. They had a really, really cool process. It was all done in minutes. So they would, if this was their process, let's say log request would have been a minute, and then define a feature, 5 minutes, and then architect it, 5 more minutes, and then develop it, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then test it, another half an hour, bundle. Everything was really, really fast. And at some point, as they're mapping their process, they get to one of the steps, and it was something like an hour. And they're sitting there and saying, wow, hour is a long time. How do we make it better? Starting to dive deeper into how can they improve the process. I said, wait a minute, we're just mapping the current process. Is this the last step? And they said, well, no, there are more steps before we get the value to the customer. I said, okay, then stop what you're doing right now. Let's not worry about how we change it. Let's just map the current step. So they went and continued to map it. And eventually they got to this place where they had to kind of obtain approval before deploying things. And the number that they put there was 20,000 minutes, because everything was in minutes. And they stood there. I remember them standing there in front of the board, looking at it and saying, oh my God, we've been improving the wrong things. So until you map your current state across your entire continuous delivery pipeline, from an opportunity to leveraging, you have no idea of understanding where the problems are. And in order to do that, we use a few metrics. And I think those metrics are important. I want to talk slightly about them because measurements are important for DevOps. And we're going to go back to them when we talk about a common approach. I want to talk about some of those metrics. So every time we talk about one of the steps it takes, first of all, we ask ourselves, what's the process time? How long does it take us to develop a feature? How long does it take us to test a feature? Well, developing a feature is 2 days. Testing a feature is 1 day. Bundling it is 2 days. Testing the app update is 2 days. Reviewing the app security is half a day. So we now have the process time. That's the actual work, value-added time. Then we have the waiting time, the delay time. That's just waiting. After somebody defined a feature, it just sit there for 2 days on average before somebody actually starts designing it. And then we'll sit for 4 days before somebody does any architecture work on it. And then it's going to sit there for 8 days before anybody develops it. So that's the delay time. And you can see, for example, in this one, if we add up all the process time, we get to 14 days. There's 14 days of actual work between logging a request and releasing an app update. But the total flow time, the sum of all the process times and the delay, is 101 days. That means that the efficiency of this process is only 14%. Most of the time, and you can see how much is most of the time, is spent waiting. Let's say I work really hard and testing the app update is not very efficient, and we can add more automation. And instead of 2 days, it's going to take 1 minute. So I managed to take test app updates from 2 days to 1 minute. I actually managed to take test features from 1 day to 1 minute. I've managed to take deploy update to staging from half a day to 1 minute. Review app security from half a day to 1 minute. Release app updates from half a day to 1 minute. Let's say I managed to take the entire process time from 14 days to 1 minute. It's still going to take 80 days to get this feature out to production. So sometimes when we're thinking in DevOps and we're just focusing on one way of solving a problem of automation, we're missing the point. So this focus on process time and delay time shows us that a lot of the time the problem is not what we're trying to solve. The other really interesting one here is this %CA, percent complete and accurate, which is what is the likelihood that as I'm logging a request and it moves to define feature, they'll actually look at it and say, we're missing information on the request. Please fill more information and send it back. And we can see that 50% of the time, we're gonna have to move it back. 20% of the time, when product management defined a feature, the people who are doing user experience, who are doing the design would say, we're missing information, fill it in and send it back. And as you add those up, you will see that the chance of a feature actually making it through the process without being sent back at least once is only 3%. That's not great quality. So once we've actually mapped the current state of our flow, only then can we start identifying, well, what are the biggest bottlenecks? And every system has a bottleneck. There is no such thing as a system that does not have a bottleneck. It might have apparently more than one bottleneck, but one of them is kind of the biggest bottleneck. And if you want to learn more about that, I suggest reading The Goal by Goldratt, talking about the theory of constraint. It's a really conversational book, easy to read, and talks about some of those problems that manifest. And in the theory of constraint, he talks about the fact that there's always a bottleneck. The first thing we have to do is we have to identify the bottleneck. You can't do anything until we identify the bottlenecks. Once we've identified the bottlenecks, we can subjugate the system to the bottlenecks. Not going to talk about that. Alleviate the bottleneck. And once we solve the bottlenecks, what's the next thing we should be doing? Find the next bottleneck, because there's always a bottleneck. So there's no such thing as we solved it and there are no more bottlenecks in this flow. So once we've identified where the bottlenecks exist, and they could be delays, delay-based or quality-based, we're trying to understand why they are. Maybe it's just waiting. Maybe it's unnecessary documentation. Maybe it's unutilized talent. Maybe it's partial work. Maybe it's lack of trust. Maybe it's cumbersome processes that have been put on in the past for whoever reason, nobody even remembers why we've done them. We need to identify what's stopping us from getting value to our customer faster. And then how do we do that, and how do we get them faster? Once we've done that, we've mapped the current state and identified kind of the biggest top problem steps and the biggest cause of delay. Then we can go and say, well, how can we make it better? Maybe there's steps we don't even need in the process. Maybe there are steps we can reduce. Maybe there are places we can make flow faster. For example, in this one, the obtaining the time between staging and standing an update and obtaining approval went from 40 days to half a day. Now, they might not know how to do it, but this is a place where they're saying, we need to do it. We need to find a way to take it to half a day. So the next thing that's going to happen is somebody's going to ask themselves, well, what do we need to build for that? And if the change is in the delay, it might just mean we need to make sure that we're building a better system so that people know what's waiting for them. Or maybe we need to hire more people. Or maybe we need to create a better notification system. As we're trying to reduce things within the steps, there's a lot of the time it will require automation. It will require us to think differently, to architect our solution in a different manner, and really improve kind of the flow of what we're doing and get to a point where we can actually move faster. So that was when I started building the DevOps class, the Safe DevOps class. This whole thing was a profound realization for me. I started building a class that was meant to convey how dev and ops work together. And they ended up building a class that talks about how do we get an idea to customers, which means we have to think about things that happen before we even code, and we have to think about things that happen after we even code. It made me ask weird questions. Remember we talked about how many features in software get used, and you said we got up that it's no more than 50%. But most of you thought it's actually smaller than that it's 25%, 10%, 35%. So let me ask you a question again. If let's say the numbers are that abysmal, so only 25% or maybe even less of feature get used, that means that 75% of the features in the product you build don't get used. So I'm sure you get a lot of requests from product management to remove unused features, right? So let me know in the chat, how often do you get requests to remove unused features? How often does that happen? You get them often? Or all the time? Not very often? Yeah. So mostly no, they just sit there and add to technical debt. Okay, why? Why is that? Why is that? Why, like, are companies full of idiots? I asked you, you gave me immediately the most features don't get used. Why don't we do it? Why don't we remove those features? And I think the answer is that most of the time we don't even think about it. I agree with what was just written. Our value stream ends early. We deploy it to production. We're happy. We celebrate. We have this kind of big celebration, and we're done, without going to the end of the value stream and saying, no, we have to ask ourselves, did it actually deliver the value? And nobody wants to ask that question because it might not have. What if I was the product manager and I wrote a feature and it ends up not being used? Then I made a mistake. I probably will be punished. So the easiest way is I'm not even going to check whether anybody used that. And then nobody's going to tell me anything. If I actually use that, if I actually asked those questions and I understood that having unused features, making my product more cumbersome, less friendly to use, harder, as other people said, adding to technical debt, I have tons of code that needs to be maintained that doesn't helpful, people would actually think about that and do it. That doesn't exist. So as you're mapping your value stream, it's not just about removing step. Maybe I need to add a step to remove unused features. That's another really important part of thinking through a future value stream. And it's a never-ending process. It's not, okay, let's map our current state, identify the problem, create a future state, do that, and we're done. No, we constantly have to think about how we improve our processes. We have to build this kind of culture of relentless improvement, of one that strive for perfection. And again, you can't achieve perfection. But I hope maybe some of you at least have read the new metrics article on SAFe. I think that as one of the most interesting things that the framework team has released in 2021, the metrics article. Before, the metrics article was kind of an amalgamation of stuff. You'd go and there'll be like a list of metrics at the top, and you click at one and you can read about various metrics. And this was kind of re-architected this year to think deeply about really 3 types of metrics, 3 ways that we can get better. One is competency. How well are we doing business agility? How well are we doing DevOps? How well are we doing team and technical agility? How well are we doing agile product delivery? We might be, again, progressing really well on deploying quickly, but we're not actually talking to our customers. So that means, again, we're building the wrong thing faster. It might be that we're talking to our customers, but we're not well enough in deployment. We might be doing those things fast, but strategy is so slow that eventually we're building the wrong thing for the company. It's not what the company actually needs. So competency is how well are we at doing this. Then flow is about everything we talk about right now. How fast can we actually deliver value? How quickly can we get value from an idea to the hands of the customer? And there are multiple ways of solving it, but some of the things that we talked today around the delay and looking at mapping the value streams are so crucial for this. But then it's also outcome. A lot of the time when we focus on DevOps, we forget that it's not just about getting things out fast, as I said, it's about getting the right things out. So are we achieving the right outcomes? If we're building, so it's a few years back, I was working with a financial institute in Germany. And as I came in, we talked a little bit about their metrics, and I was dumbfounded because they had a metrics there that I have never seen in my life. Anywhere when I worked with IT, I've never seen such results. In the last 5 years, each one of their IT projects finished on time, on scope, on budget. That was shocking to me. I've never seen anything like that. But then they had a new CIO who came in and he asked a new question. He said, how many of those projects actually get used? And it turned out that the answer was about 5%. Because the way that they finished things quickly is they just deployed what was there. They didn't care about whether the customers needed it. They didn't care whether they were building the right thing. They didn't care about anything. They just needed to finish it on time, on scope, on budget. They didn't care anything about what the customer thought. So they ended up building the wrong things. So unless you actually focus on outcomes, you're missing some of the point. So again, we want to deliver quickly, but we want to deliver the right things. And then I learned how much of this is about a mindset. DevOps is a lot about mindset. It's a mindset of understanding that we're sharing responsibility. You cannot say, I'm development, I'm thinking about taking a story and getting it into the compilation. Once that's done, I don't care about anything. I cannot say, I'm product management, I'm responsible for writing a feature, and then I don't care about it. I cannot say, I'm security, I'm going to sit there and complain that something isn't secure and come at the end. I cannot be ops and say, I'm going to sit there and say that I'm going to block everything from going to deployment. No, we're responsible together. If we work at a company and we want to be successful and we don't want to be part of that 50% of Global 2000 disappeared, it's all of our responsibility to make sure value gets to our customers as quickly as possible. And until we have a culture of shared responsibility, whereas the business, we're saying, okay, we work with devs and we need to, and as product management, we understand we need to reduce technical debt. And as devs, we understand that we need stability. As ops, we understand we need to get value out quickly. And we're actually building this shared responsibility where the entire value stream is owned by all of us. We're going to struggle. If we don't focus on automation and understand that automation is an important part, it's not the only part. As I said, focusing on waiting is another part of it, but really focusing on automation, and not just automation of development, automation of business processes, automations of marketing work, automation of legal work. There's a lot of places outside of IT where automation can play a part in the value stream. So really thinking about how do we automate the continuous delivery pipeline. I talked a lot about lean and flow, and so I'm not going to spend more time there, but really getting people thinking about this. You have a value stream, you've identified it. Okay, who looks after it? A lot of the time, organizations don't have somebody who's actually responsible for the entire value stream and it's for its optimization. You need to make sure you have in your organization someone who's looking after the flow of work from side to side, not across part of it, across everything. And this crosses, what makes it usually hard is that this crosses organizational boundaries. If you want to really look at the value from side to side, you need somebody who can cross organizational boundaries and look at it. And you'll never know it without measurement of quality, of value, of flow, how well we're doing. Measure, measure, measure. I spend my time in this talk, I spend a lot of time really talking about those measurements around business agility, not first for the fun of it. If you don't know where the delays are, how can you improve them? How do you know that the automation you're now choosing to do actually is the most important problem? And it's I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, I was talking to a group, a DevOps group at a financial institution here in the US, and I explained some of these concepts. And somebody looked at me and said, yeah, but if we just automated, wouldn't it be easier? I said, yes, it would, but would that be the right thing to do? And they said, we don't care. That's not our mandate. We just need to get this deployed to production faster. And it was just shocking to me. Nobody cared about the overall value and the overall flow. And as we're thinking through this, if we want to move faster, we have to understand what is the impact of going faster. What does that mean for recovery if we make some mistakes? And in high compliant areas, when you're building cyber physical systems, those have huge impact on human lives. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on making sure we run fast while being safe, while being secure, while making sure we're not opening ourselves to bigger problems. So really thinking through this mindset is important. But it's more than a mindset. It's a set of practices. DevOps is a set of practices. It's a set of practices that allow us to continuously explore, continuously integrate, continuously deploy, and continuously and release on demand. And look at this difference. It says continuously explore, continuously integrate, continuously deploy, release on demand. That difference means something. It means that while we're trying to get things into production as quickly as possible, releasing things to customer is a business decision. And throughout this cycle, we need to do a lot of things. We need to build ideas. We think what we're building right now is the right thing for our customers. We think that is already a mindset shift. Most product managers I know that what they're building is the right thing because it's their idea. No, it's a hypothesis. It's an idea. Once you get into your mindset of this is hypothesis-driven development, we just have thoughts, we will test them, it's going to change how you're working. Those need to be then created and synthesized into a backlog. They need to be developed and built and tested end-to-end and staged into a staging environment, deployed to production, verified, monitored, responded. Then there's a business decision to release them. We need to measure them. Are we actually making business value there? And this requires a lot of disciplines. And you can see a lot of the disciplines that actually go into making DevOps a reality. There's Agile product management. There's Agile planning and design. There's building and deployment pipeline. There's continuous monitoring. There's doing infrastructure management. There's doing version control. But if you look at these things, at this kind of circle of DevOps, and you look inside all this version control and continuous security and continuous quality, the thing you find right at the center is value stream management. And the reason for that is that if you don't understand what value stream you're working on, if you don't understand how to build this, if you don't understand how to map this, you will never be able to draw the value. We have to start expanding our definition of what DevOps is from DevOps to a bigger thing. I was thinking once with my friend Mark Ricks, who's a safe fellow here at Scaled Agile, and I said, well, I've seen other acronyms. There's DevSecOps or BizDevOps. Why not extend our acronym? So he went to the board and he actually wrote what it would have to be like if we included everybody it takes. And it was something like BizDevOps Sec Comp. He just put it out. It was like a whole. He wrote it from one side of the whiteboard to the other side of the whiteboard. And he said, do you want to call the course that? And I said, okay, we can call it Safe DevOps. But we have to explain to people that when we talk about DevOps, we don't just mean DevOps, we mean something bigger. And we have to explain to them that at the heart of DevOps lie value stream management, lie the understanding that we need to identify the value stream, we need to understand and understand the flow of value from side to side. We need to understand how we're going to do this. We need to understand and map those things. And then at a higher level, it doesn't just stop with identifying it and mapping it. It's also about funding it. So we're not going to spend time here because we're kind of focused here on DevOps. But if you look at lean portfolio management in SAFe, we're changing that to funding value stream. We need to change the entire thought of the organization around we build value streams, we organize around value streams, we fund value stream, we improve the flow through value streams. Once we kind of get through this value stream thinking, building value stream management, thinking through value streams, only then can we actually achieve business agility and think through this in kind of the right way. Now, since this is Safe Thursday, I'm guessing at least some of the people on the call are SPCs and Safe certified. So recently we've released some things that might be helpful for you. So I wanted to make sure I'm not just leaving you with, oh, this great theory that Inbar just said, but I have no idea how to actually do this. So on our community platform, we just released a few really interesting assets, and I want to make sure you're aware of them. So if you go to the community platform and you click on implement, there's quite a few things there. One of them is organize around value. And I started with organizing around value, and we created a plethora of tools for you around how do we generate buy-in for this idea that we need to organize differently in our organization. And generate buy-in, there's even an e-learning there around how do you think about this? How do you convey the value? How do you prepare to identify value streams in art? How to run the workshops, how to take actions. We provided a lot of tools for going deeper into everything I talked today, but making it a reality that's actually useful for you. So if you're in the place where you're saying, wait, I'm not even sure that we're organized in the right way in our organization. Yes, we have trains, but I'm not sure they're the right trains. Yes, we have teams. I'm not sure they're the right teams. I highly urge you to go and check these new things out. Some of the more advanced scaled agilists at scale that I know do this regularly. It's not a one-time event. We've organized around value, and now we're organized around value. No, value changes. What we need changes. The organization changes. One of our biggest customers, a health company, recently came up of a set of meetings with them. They have now finished re-architecting all their trains for next year. They're looking at a strategy, they're looking about what's coming in 2022, and they're re-architecting to enable the flow of the new value that is going to come. They don't care about what happened last year. That was great. The old structure doesn't solve for the future. And then we've, more recently even than this, released a whole set of stuff around value stream mapping. So going deep into everything I talked about value stream mapping, talking about preparing for value stream mapping, running value stream mapping, taking actions. We're providing you both with videos, enablement on how to run this workshop, going deeper than everything I talked about today. And then the actual template on our platform to run this with your organization, run this with your customers, and really go deeper into how to do this. So I hope, in summary, that I've helped you, I've clarified the fact that DevOps goes beyond Dev and Ops, goes beyond the kind of the traditional focus of let's just automate things and that's going to get us to the promised land. No, we need to think of the overall value streams, think of what does it take to actually achieve business agility from an idea to leveraging it. Then as we look at this overall business value stream, only then can we map it out find out where the problems are. And if they are by things that we need to automate, let's automate. That's an important part. And there will be some of those steps. But if the problems are elsewhere, if the problems are before development, as we're building the wrong things, if they're after development because we're not ready and we don't know what to do with them, or if they're just in waiting between steps, don't waste your time on just using technology to solve the least priority problem and the problem that's not going to drive the most results. Help your organization by focusing on the right problem, focusing on the value stream, thinking of it from end to end, and making that better. Only then can you achieve business agility. Only then can you actually get your organization to the place where it's providing its customers with the best value possible. So I hope that was valuable. I hope you learned something from here and I didn't waste your precious Friday time. It's still Thursday here, so for at least another hour. So if you have any questions about either what I covered today or anything you want to talk about SAFe and why we've done various things, I'm sure that we'll now go and Priti will help me facilitate this. This is my first time here, so I don't know exactly how you usually do it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Inbar. It was definitely insightful. And I'm sure I already see comments coming in about how valuable it has been. So thank you so much for that. And as I think it's a great opportunity now that we have somebody, a SAFe fellow here, who can definitely, and he's willing to answer any question, not only from DevOps or anything about SAFe.
Anything.
I think this is a great opportunity. So if you have questions, please go ahead and put your questions on your chat. I'll ask the questions to Inbar and he's going to help us answer the questions. And we are still seeing a lot of people thanking you for the insightful session. Okay. We have it. Yes, Bhavish, there would be a recording that would be made available. Yes. Okay.
So I see a question about measuring productivity. Productivity is a pet peeve of mine. I've been in a lot of organizations where people said, well, we want to see that this Agile thing helps us improve productivity. And I ask, well, how do you measure productivity right now? And they say, we don't know how to measure productivity. Well, if you don't know how to measure productivity, then I can't show you that we're improving it. And every time I've asked people about productivity, this usually got us to wrong corners. The way I like to think of productivity is, are we delivering more value to customers in a shorter amount of time? So if we can show that we're delivering more value in shorter amount of time, I think we can argue that we're being more productive. And so really thinking through, how do we showcase business value? And in SAFe, there's a point where we're starting PI planning. We're asking our business owners, what's the value assigned to the objective we're working on? And at the end, we're asking them, what value do we deliver? As long as we can deliver more value and we can show that the time it takes us to deliver a feature to production grows shorter, I'm willing to argue that shows productivity. More features that are more valuable in a shorter amount of time, for me, means productivity.
Inbar, the next question that I see here is, do you have any advice regarding how to talk to people in the organization about the risk versus reward questions in terms of the business agility value stream?
Risk versus reward. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's not pretty clear. The question came from Durgesh. Durgesh, do you care to elaborate the question? I've given you the option if you want, you could unmute yourself and then ask the question too. Okay, while I wait for Durgesh to do that. So a couple of more questions in similar lines, Inbar. Now, I am a Scrum Master. How do I go about convincing management to realign on value streams?
Okay, so in order to get people to understand that, that's why I showed the thing on our platform that has around getting building buy-in, and we have a whole e-learning on the platform around how do you build buy-in for organizing around value. I found that a lot of the time it takes kind of experiencing some of those things for themselves. So really talking about, look, what are we trying to achieve? What are some of the problems that we have? And are we looking at it end to end? Training for leaders tend to help. If leaders actually understand the concept of value streams, it makes it easier for them to change. Showing some of the bottlenecks and showing how the way things are moving between organizational boundaries is slowing us down helps. Leaders respect data. So I like using data in order to convince them to change direction. So that's always a good idea. And showing them case studies. We have a lot of case studies on the SAFE website of people who've actually achieved some of those changes. So focusing on changes and showing how the way that they've aligned differently help them deliver also resonates. Another way that I've found really useful with leaders is connecting them with other leaders. If you can find a different organization that actually did that, and we have a really extensive partner network. And one of the things I like about the partner network is they've done a lot of work and they know a lot of companies. So if you can find a partner that can help connect your leaders to other leaders and they can talk directly to people who've been part of this, that's part of what really makes them successful, because leaders trust other leaders. So that connections and connecting it to data is some of the things that I found successful.
So Durgesh has elaborated was on risk versus reward. So his question was more on, how to measure the rewards that we would like to reap versus the risk that we have to take, especially in the context of building your minimum viable product.
Again, sorry, we had a dropping connection for a second.
Okay, so the question, the clarification on risk versus reward was the question was about how do you measure the rewards that we would like to reap versus the risk we have to take, especially in the context of a minimum viable product.
So I think as when you build a minimum viable product, you need to think about what are some of the leading indicators that will let us understand we're working in the right direction. And these need to be real successes. Not a lot of people use some kind of vanity metrics that actually show you nothing. We have to see that they're going to actually showcase that we're driving the right direction. And there is no way to make risk go away. The whole point of a minimum viable product is to take something small, test it out, and then see if we want to keep investing in it. By its very essence, a minimum viable product takes away the risk of investing something big that might turn out to be unnecessary. So if the alternative to building a minimum viable product is building the whole product, there's more risk there for sure. So really trying to take something smaller and building it always reduces risk and always makes it easier, regardless of anything else. It's just that there's no better alternative. And so I hope that answers it. If you just focus on understanding the fact that if we build something smaller and verify that we actually are going in the right direction, this is the thing to actually reduce the risks. There's no way to reduce the risk in the minimum viable product, because by definition, the minimum viable product is the smallest thing we can build in order to test our hypothesis. If there's anything smaller, then that is the minimum viable product. Use that instead.
Thank you so much. So, Inbar, one more question that we have is, who are the stakeholders for value stream sessions, and when is the best time to start value stream mapping?
So, unless you're making a huge change in the way you're building your organization right now, value stream mapping is always the right time to do it, is now. If you're changing your organization, let's say you're just starting to implement SAFe and you're building an agile release train, you've never worked this way, you had a completely different structure, I would say first organize around value, then map your value stream. Because if you just start by mapping your value stream, you're going to get to a point where people are going to say, oh, we have silos. Well, we already know that. We can just come to organize around value, have an agile release train, and then map its flow. So I would say first organize around value, then do value stream mapping. If you've already done values, if you already organize around value, the time is now. Now, who should you have there? That's an interesting question, because value stream mapping are complex sessions. You want there people who can actually see the overall picture, can make the changes, but you also need people who can actually provide the data. If I'm going to get to a step and I'm going to ask, how long does it take to develop? We don't know. Well, how long does it take to do that? We don't know. How long does it do that? We don't know. If you don't have the people who can actually provide the data, then you're also missing that. So I need kind of an amalgamation of the people who can see the overall flow and can actually affect the change, and at the same time really focus on have the data. And sometimes you need to split it up and kind of go back and force, but you need to make sure you have the people who know the data in the room. Otherwise, you'll never be able to map it.
Another question that we have is there any guidance or framework to measure the metrics that we have been talking about?
Yeah, so again, we have a lot of the concepts in value stream mapping go back to Karen Martin's book about value stream mapping. So that is a good resource to read. But if you look at the resources I showed on the community platform, they're going to show you exactly how to measure those things. How do we measure process time? How do we measure delays? And going to talk to who do you need to ask to understand percent complete and accurate. And a lot of the time we have the data. It's just hidden and we don't look at it. We have it in our ALM systems. We have it in other systems. We need to actually bring it out. But we have that data. If you, again, go to the community platform, watch those videos around how to prepare for value stream mapping and the enablement for running that will provide you with all the guidance you need. And on our platform, we have specific templates that follow exactly that format that you saw me using here, with the first step, the last step, the places to put all the specific steps, and allows you to fill it in with your data. So together they should provide you with everything you need.
Thank you. The other question, another question that has come, it's a huge question, so I'm just going to wait on that. One more question is, management always asks why your velocity is always the same. Why is it not increasing, right? Mm-hmm. Why can't you load more than your capacity? Is it a good idea to load more stories than team's capacity to increase your velocity?
It's a very good idea if you want to be less predictable. It's a very good idea if you want to be less predictable. In my experience, I've worked with leaders, and I've often asked them, if you could choose between delivering more and predictability, which would you take? And 90% of the case, people prefer predictability. The only way to be predictable and provide the right and be able to deliver predictably and provide business value and be able to do that, Donald Reiner tells us the only way to do that, to deliver on a cadence and work on a cadence, is to create capacity margins. That means save some space and have some slack. Otherwise, we can't have any space for agility. If we overload ourselves, it seems like on the one hand we're making it better, but actually it's the exact opposite. So think about a road. And I know we're now kind of in a weird COVID world, so we don't drive to work, but just imagine 2 years back when we drove to work. When's a road fully utilized? When there's a traffic jam. We're driving the slowest, but it's really utilized. It's great. When we overload people, when people are fully worked, that means that everything that goes not expected to plan, we cannot react to that. There's nothing we can do. So it's kind of being overloaded is the opposite of being able to be agile and react. Being overloaded is the opposite of being predictable. So when people come and tell me, why isn't your velocity increasing? It's almost the silliest question I've ever asked. So how do we get to velocity? It's kind of the sum of the stories of the story points of everything we've estimated. Okay, so if anybody came to my team and said, why isn't your velocity going up? I would just estimate everything twice as big and my velocity will now double. Did anything actually happen? No. Did we deliver a value? No, but my velocity is going up. It's so silly. We actually spend time sometimes in leadership sessions talking to them and asking people, how would you double your velocity? The easiest way, well, I'll just change my estimation to be twice as much. So if you have managers who are asking those questions, they don't understand what velocity is. I would get a coach that can explain to them and what would happen with that line of questioning. But if you just want to show them this, just double your estimations for everything and your velocity just doubled. It won't help your organization be more productive or achieve better business agility. I can assure you that for sure.
Thank you so much. And I think that's a lot of debated question that we see everywhere. How do we increase?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the next question we have is program predictability metric focuses on value being delivered in the perception of the product managers, but not the actual value perceived by the customers. So how do we measure value of the deliverables or the outcome if customer typically starts using the new releases out in the market quite late as in 3 to 6 months after the release, right? Which might sound weird, but is true with many legacy businesses and products.
Absolutely, it's definitely true. So first of all, we have to have some initial guidance of whether we're going in the right direction. And so we need some people who can provide it. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be product management. We can bring customers in it. We, for example, in this company, we run demos and we invite customers to our demos and we ask them about, is this what you want? So they're not using it yet, but we can ask them for feedback even before they're using something. So I want to just stress out that you can ask customers first. Now, the reason we have product managers organization is because we're assuming that they can provide some kind of proxying to what customers need. If they are completely off, then we should kind of help them understand that they're always off with this. So let's say we have product managers, they're saying, this is great, this is the thing customer wants. And then 3 months later, we see nobody uses it. Okay. And then it happens again and again and again. I think it warrants a retrospective of asking, why do we not understand what our customers want? And I'm willing to argue that usually that happens because we missed a step initially. We're not using design thinking. We're not engaging with our customers. We're not testing with our customers. We're not building with our customers. If we're really intimately working with our customers to build a solution that they need, the chances decrease that they won't use it. Can it happen? Absolutely, it can. But it just goes down in likelihood. And with Safe 5.0, we added the design thinking to Safe. I still don't see a lot of people using it. I still see it as an underused practice. People actually working with their customers, designing with their customers, making it easier for them to achieve success. With that, they're building whatever we think, and then it gets out to the market too late. I encourage you, especially in legacy processes where it sometimes takes a long time until it gets to the hand of the customers, bring customers in. And it's sometimes so hard. It's just so weird for me sometimes in order to this. I was working with a retail company a few years back, and they had a great idea. What I thought was a great idea. They would take kind of in the high, there's kind of the really stressed out times around, for example, Christmas. They would take IT people and bring them into supermarkets to run some back office or even the point of sales. And that would actually teach the IT personnel about what's happening in actual stores. And I had the idea of using the same idea in the backwards of saying in the lull time, which we know when they are, let's bring people from the supermarket into IT to test product. And the reaction was like, no, we can't do that. We can't bring the customers in. Like, why not? Bring your customers in, get them in early, test things with them. Only then will you know. And the longer it takes for the customers to actually use the product 3-6 months out, the more it's important to bring them in early. Also, ask yourself, do the testing 3-6 months out. And when you found out that they didn't actually use it, go back and ask yourself, why? And how could we have learned that earlier? And what are some of the processes that we can put in to learn and remove those? Now, we can't ever remove those. The essence of agility, the essence of experimentation is we're going to build things that are going to be wrong. That's fine. We should have the ability to fail. But if we're failing too much and not learning from that, that's when we're actually making the mistake.
Thank you so much for that. And the one last question that we have is, how do we deal with the complexity factors impacting adversely the velocity? What should be the focus of the team?
The focus of the team should be on delivering value to customers as quickly as possible. That's it. They should not be thinking about velocity. They should not be thinking about any tool, be DevOps or safe, by the way. These are tools. They should be thinking about what are the things our customers want and understanding customers. And a lot of people don't understand customers. They don't have access to customers. They're not being given direct access to what customers want. And so we need to make sure teams understand the strategy, teams understand what customers want, and they are given the right environment to deliver that value as quickly as possible. That's it. Anything else is just tools that could be interesting and could be false. Remember, DevOps, safe, they're just tools. They're not the goal. The goal is business agility. The goal is to get value into the customer's hands as fast as we can, the right value. Everything else shouldn't be the focus. The focus should only be that. How do we get the right thing into the customer's hand as quickly as possible? Because we have this on a slide, or we had this on a slide years back in Leading Safe. We all work for the customers, and they can fire all of us if they're not happy with what we're getting. Let's remember that when we go to work. They're the people we're working for, our customers, most important people ever. Everything else falls from that.
Thank you so much, Inbar. I think we've got through all the questions that were posted.
Nice.
So thank you so much, Inbar, for taking the time out. I know it's pretty late, and I'm sure you would definitely love to get back to your home and your family now. Thank you so much. And all the viewers, thank you very much for your excellent interactions. I hope we definitely found a lot of value. I know for sure I did. And I thought I understood value stream identification and mapping earlier, but I still got a lot to gain. So thank you very much. And folks, if you're still interested and you'd like to continue to keep connected with Safe Thursday, right? You can find us, right now we have our own website, which is called as safethursday.com. You can directly go over to the website and see us there. Or if you would prefer other means, we are also on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. Yeah, and this is the new address that you can actually find us on, right? So this is where you can see us. I've given you the QR codes if you would like to quickly scan it and then go see what we do. All our work is definitely there on the safethursday.com website. Okay, with that, thank you very much. I hope to see you guys all again in our next session. I'll keep you all guys posted on what we are planning to do next. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me, Preet. It was great to be part of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Richmond. Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much. See you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.